Through the first 3 days of early voting, totals are far outpacing what we saw in 2022 midterms, with close to 15,000 ballots already cast and 11 days to go. Now, that strong start coming in the first election since state Republicans broke up Tennessee's only blue-leaning district. And the early returns show the higher turnout is coming from Democratic voters. Here to unpack what we've seen so far and the latest going on in Shelby County is Abyssinian Baptist Church senior pastor and professor and dean of chapel at Lamoille College, Dr. Earl Fisher. Dr. Fisher, welcome back to 3 at 3. Good to see you.
Glad to be back with you, brother.
You've been busy as always, been quoted in the Washington Post, and of course you've been involved with voter engagement, especially as we go into these elections. What are you feeling? What are you seeing on the ground?
I think it's a clear momentum, but it has to be sustained. I think the momentum is the byproduct of a few things. One, there's been just some increased initiatives of strategic engagement. So Up to Vote 901, the Black Clergy Collaborative of Memphis, so many other organizations around the city and the county have been very intentional, especially about reaching out to inactive voters, and I think that has something to do with it. I think if you look at a candidacy like Justin Pearson's, I think there's obvious energy around that. But anytime you see Shelby County outperforming Davidson County, when Shelby County typically is at the lower rung of turnout, I think there's something that we're doing right, but the question is, can we maintain it? And I hope we can.
Dr. Fisher, let's show some numbers that I think we can put on the screen right here. As we take a look at those numbers, I do want to ask you also, when it comes to being energized, what are you seeing with Democrats? What are you seeing with Republicans? What surprises you, if at all?
Well, again, I think since this is a partisan primary, when you're talking about what's happening across the state, you're generally going to see people turn out based upon how they feel about particular candidates. But also, since this is also the Shelby County general election, you have people in Shelby County who are motivated to make sure that the people that they voted for in May ultimately make it into office this August. And so when you think about some of the mayoral candidacies, some of the judgeships and stuff like that, you've seen a whole lot of community engagement in churches, in civic organizations, community centers, and I think you've seen some very tactical and strategic efforts to increase turnout, and I think that's the result of what we see with this momentum right now.
So, Dr. Fisher, what is this? Is this voter anger for some people? Is this voter passion, being concerned that their votes might be diluted? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's clearly some of the response to the, y'all called it the blue district, I'm gonna call it the black district that got split up by the Republicans. And so there's some of that. There's a combination of things. Anytime you have increased turnout of this magnitude, you can never point to just one thing. But the bread is always going to be buttered with community engagement, because we never really have a voter registration problem. We got a voter education problem. People have been educating people on the issues. You got a voter engagement problem. People have been targeting those low turnout areas. And so now you have a voter empowerment increase and a voter engagement and voter turnout surplus.
So who is that target? Should that target be younger people who tend to be at least a little bit more apathetic? Is it that older voter? Who do you feel needs to be targeted here?
I don't think you had the luxury of splitting those hairs. Of course, historically, African American men have been a little bit slow in comparison with African American women. The younger voter have been slower in comparison to some of the older voters and the elder voters. But anytime you had 275,000 people who sat out in 2024 in Shelby County, trust me when I tell you, you can find voters to activate any and everywhere.
Does it surprise you at all? Again, I know I mentioned off the top, the Washington Post, you were quoted in it, that the national media, and in some cases international media, global media, have really taken interest in what's going on right here in Memphis and Shelby County.
I think in terms of the larger narrative with what happened with the racist redistricting, no, I'm not surprised. And again, when you have candidates that have ignited people all over the country, as Representative Pearson has, I'm not that surprised. At the same time, what I do appreciate is that they're not just focusing on individuals, they are focusing on the issues that are important to the people, and they are focusing on some of these strategies and tactics that organizations have been implementing that I think should be replicated across the country and should be supported. There are denominational gatherings all over the country that are happening, from the CMEs, the AMEs, the National Baptists, and COGIC, and all of that. And I think it's important for us to motivate and educate and engage congregations across the country so that we can increase turnout, not just in Memphis and Shelby County, but you need turnout increased across the country.
Let's talk about part of the debate, of course. course, here locally, National Guard, unfortunately, fatal shootings taking place over the past few weeks or so. How do you put all this into perspective?
Well, public policy is what led to the Memphis Unsafe Task Force being brought to the city, from the federal level and from the state level especially. And so now when you think about families like Tyrone Johnson's family who are simply asking for transparency and accountability, you know that's more difficult if the people in office don't share the same perspectives as the people who are being impacted most inequitably by a task force like this. So it's important for us to make sure we're pressing for transparency and accountability, body camera footage if the Memphis Police Department was down there, and supporting the family in any and every way we can. And I think the family would say it's important for us to be politically engaged enough to increase the turnout across the state so that it's less likely that we have to deal with something like this going forward.
But of course, you've heard the argument, crime is down, the numbers are down, and a lot of people say, let's credit Memphis Safe Task Force, let's credit the National Guard. What do you say?
I say the truth is that crime was down before they ever showed up. But one thing that has increased since they've been here is the number of people who've been killed by law enforcement, and a lack of transparency and accountability when you start talking about getting to the facts. And not just the facts of something like this, but even the facts of something like the Memphis Shelby County schools, waste, fraud, and abuse whole narrative. When you start talking about it at the state level, there's clearly some political gamesmanship going on here, whether it's the Memphis Safe Task Force or whether it is even something as necessary as an audit, because we should support where people find corruption, but it is inequitably applied, because I have not heard people on the right talk about Brian Kelsey in this way. I have not heard them talk about Marsha Blackburn, who was just under a Senate ethics investigation, but you don't hear them talking about waste, fraud, and abuse on the right. So it seems to be something that is weaponized in ways that I don't think give the public the kind of confidence or the information and commitment to the truth that we need.
Dr. Earl Fisher, always, we appreciate you sharing your perspective.
Thank you for the opportunity, brother.